My daughter-in-law said, pack your bags. Not, would you consider moving? Not, maybe we should talk about your living situation. Not, we are concerned about you. Just, pack your bags. 3 words. Cold. Final. Like I was a tenant who had overstayed her lease. Not a mother. Not a grandmother. Not family. I had lived in that house for 40 years. 40 years of memories. 40 years of love. 40 years of sacrifice. My husband and I bought it when we were young. We had nothing. No furniture. No savings. No plan. Just each other. And this house. We painted the front door blue. Blue for peace. Blue for welcome. Blue for home. We planted a garden in the back. Tomatoes. Terrible tomatoes. Small. Hard. Bitter. But every summer we ate them. And every summer my husband said, next year they will be better. He never got to see them get better. He died 10 years ago. In this house. In our bed. Holding my hand. After he died, I thought I would stay here forever. In this house. In this room. In this bed. Growing old among the memories. But my son had other plans. Or rather, his wife had other plans. Her name is Michelle, my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, the mother of my 2 grandchildren. She is a beautiful woman. Sharp. Ambitious. Organized. She likes things done her way. And her way did not include me. For years, I tried to stay out of her way. I tried to be the mother-in-law every woman says she wants. The kind who does not interfere. The kind who does not criticize. The kind who knows her place. I thought I was doing a good job. I thought I had earned my place. In my own home. In my family. In their lives. But I was wrong. It happened on a Sunday. Family dinner. At their house. I was invited. I should have said no. I should have stayed home. But I wanted to see my grandchildren. I wanted to see my son. I wanted to be part of the family. I arrived at 5 o'clock. I brought a pie. Apple. My mother's recipe. The one my son used to love. The one my husband used to request on his birthdays. Michelle opened the door. She smiled. That tight smile. The one that does not reach the eyes. She said, "Oh, Helen. You brought a pie. How sweet." I walked inside. The house was full of people. Her mother. Her father. Her sister. Her brother. Her cousins. My son was in the kitchen. He was helping with the food. He did not see me. Or maybe he did not want to see me. I stood in the living room. Holding my pie. No one offered to take it. No one offered me a seat. No one offered me a drink. I stood there. Like a stranger. Like someone who had not been invited. After dinner, Michelle asked me to stay behind. She said she wanted to talk. In private. My son was there too. He was standing by the window. Looking out. Not at me. Michelle said, "Helen, we need to discuss your living situation." My living situation. I was living in my own house. The house I had paid for. The house I had cleaned. The house I had filled with love and memories. But she called it my living situation. Like I was a problem. Like I was a case file. I said, "What about my living situation, Michelle?" She said, "You cannot stay there anymore. It is not safe. It is not practical. You need to be somewhere with more support. A place where people can take care of you." I said, "I do not need to be taken care of. I am fine. I have been fine for 10 years. She sighed. A long sigh. The kind that says, "I am tired of dealing with you." She said, "You are not fine, Helen. You are getting older. You forget things. You leave the stove on. You miss appointments. You are a danger to yourself." I said, "I have never left the stove on. I have never missed an appointment. I do not know what you are talking about." She looked at my son. He was still looking out the window. She said, "David, tell her." My son turned around. He looked at me. His eyes were sad. He said, "Mom, we are worried about you. We think it is time." Time. Time for what? Time to leave my home? Time to give up my independence? Time to be put away? I said, "Where am I supposed to go?" Michelle said, "There is a nice assisted living facility across town. We have already looked into it. It is affordable. It is safe. You will have your own room. 3 meals a day. Activities. Friends. Assisted living." She wanted to put me in assisted living. In my own city. In my own neighborhood. While she lived in my son's house. While she raised my grandchildren. While she lived the life I had dreamed of. I said, "I am not going to assisted living, Michelle." She said, "Then pack your bags. You cannot stay in that house. It is not safe. We have made our decision. We have made our decision. Not me. We. Her and my son. The son I raised. The son I loved. The son who was. Looking at the floor again. I looked at him. I said, David, is this what you want? He did not answer. He just stood there, silent, small, ashamed. Michelle said, it is what is best for everyone. Including you. You just cannot see it right now. I stood up. I said, I am not going to assisted living. And I am not packing my bags. She said, then pack your bags for somewhere else. Because you are not staying in that house. We have decided. We have decided. She said it again, like I had no say. Like my 40 years in that house meant nothing. Like I was a child. Like I was a burden. I walked to the door. I put on my coat. I said, I am going home. To my house. The house I have lived in for 40 years. The house I will die in. I walked out. Into the dark. Into the cold. Into the silence. That was 3 months ago. They have been calling every day. Leaving messages. Sending letters. They want me to sell the house. They want me to move into assisted living. They want me to pack my bags. But I am still here. In my house. In my room. In my bed. I am not packing my bags. I am not leaving. This is my home. And no one can tell me otherwise. I am Helen. I am 68 years old. I am a widow. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. And I am a woman who was told to pack her bags by her daughter-in-law. Let me go back. Let me tell you about this house. The house they want me to leave. The house they want me to pack my bags from. I bought this house in 1978. I was 26 years old. My husband, George, and I had been saving for 5 years. We had a small apartment. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen you could barely turn around in. But we had a son. David. He was 2 years old. He needed room to run. Room to grow. Room to be a boy. We found this house on a Tuesday. It was raining. The realtor showed us 3 other houses before this one. They were too small. Too dark. Too expensive. Then we pulled up to this house. It was not fancy. It was not new. But it had a porch. A big porch. With a swing. George looked at me. He said, this is the one. We bought it. 3 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. A basement that flooded every spring. A roof that leaked in the winter. A furnace that sounded like a train. But it was ours. We painted the front door blue. Blue for peace. Blue for welcome. Blue for home. George built a garden in the backyard. He grew tomatoes. Terrible tomatoes. Small. Hard. Bitter. But every summer, we ate them. And every summer, George said, next year, they will be better. They never got better. But we ate them anyway. That is what families do. They eat the bitter tomatoes together. David grew up in this house. He took his first steps in the living room. He lost his first tooth in the kitchen. He learned to ride a bike on the driveway. He brought his first girlfriend to the front porch. He sat on that swing. He held her hand. I watched from the window. I cried. Happy tears. George died in this house. In our bedroom. In our bed. Holding my hand. I was 58 years old. A widow. Alone. But not alone. I had this house. These walls. These memories. This home. After George died, I did not know who I was. For 32 years, I was Helen and George. We were a pair. Like salt and pepper. Like coffee and cream. Now I was just Helen. And Helen did not know how to be alone. But I had this house. This house kept me company. The creaking floorboards. The dripping faucet. The humming furnace. They were familiar. They were George. They were home. David stepped in. He called every day. He visited every weekend. He brought groceries. He fixed things around the house. The faucet that dripped. The step that creaked. The light in the hallway that had been broken for 6 months. He fixed everything, except the hole in my heart. Then he met Michelle. Michelle worked at a bank. She was a manager. She was younger than him. 28. David was 30. She was sharp, ambitious, beautiful. She wore expensive suits and spoke like she was giving a presentation. She reminded me of a businesswoman. Polished, professional, cold. I met her for the first time at a restaurant. David wanted me to meet her somewhere neutral. He was nervous. I could tell. He kept checking his phone. He kept looking at the door. Michelle arrived on time. She walked in like she owned the place. She sat down. She said, "You must be Helen. David talks about you all the time." I said, "All good things, I hope." She smiled. But her smile did not reach her eyes. It was a smile she had practiced. A smile she used with clients. A smile that said, "I am being polite, but do not mistake this for warmth." She ordered a salad. No dressing. A glass of white wine. She ate the salad like she was performing a task. She talked about her career, her promotions, her goals. She did not ask me one question about myself. Not one. Not, what do you do? Not, what do you like? Not, how are you doing after losing your husband? After she left, David said, so? What do you think? I said, she is very professional. He said, that is a good thing, Mom. She knows what she wants. I said, does she want a family? Does she want children? He said, eventually. When she is ready. I did not say what I was thinking. I did not say, son, life does not wait for ready. I did not say, love is not a business transaction. I did not say, I have a bad feeling about this. I said, if she makes you happy, I am happy for you. He smiled. He looked relieved. He said, thanks, Mom. That means everything. They got married 6 months later. Big wedding. Expensive. Michelle wanted everything perfect. The venue, the flowers, the cake, the band, the invitations, the favors. Everything had to be just so. David paid for most of it. He took out a loan. A loan. For a wedding. I wanted to say something. But I did not. It was not my place. I was just the mother of the groom. I was just the widow. I was just the old woman. I offered to he. I had some savings. Not much. But enough to cover the flowers or the catering. Michelle said, no thank you, Helen. We want to do this ourselves. Our way. She called me Helen. Not Mom. Not even Mrs. Davis. Helen. Like I was a coworker. Like I was someone she had just met. At the wedding, I sat in the back row. The family row. Third row. Not first. Not second. Third. Michelle's parents sat in the front. Her sister sat in the second row. I sat in the third row. Behind the aunt I had never met. I watched my son marry a woman I did not trust. I watched him put a ring on her finger. I watched him kiss her. I watched him smile. And I smiled too. I clapped. I cheered. I wiped away a tear. I did everything a mother is supposed to do. But inside, I was breaking. After the wedding, things changed. Slowly, like a tide coming in. You do not notice at first. Then you look down and the water is at your knees. David used to call me every day. After Michelle, he called twice a week. Then once a week. Then once every 2 weeks. He said he was busy. He said work was crazy. He said Michelle needed him. I understood. I did not complain. I did not want to be a burden. We used to have Sunday dinners at my house. Every week. After church. After lunch. It was our tradition. After the wedding, Michelle started making excuses. David would call and say, Michelle is tired. Michelle has a headache. Michelle has to work tomorrow. Then David stopped calling. I would call him. He would answer sometimes. Short conversations. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. He would say, everything is fine, Mom. Just busy. Then he would say he had to go. Then he would hang up. I started counting the days between calls. 7 days. 14 days. 21 days. 30 days. I would mark them on the calendar on my refrigerator. A small X for every day. He did not call. The calendar filled with X's. I tried calling Michelle. Once. Twice. She did not answer. I left a message. Hi, Michelle. It is Helen. Just calling to say hello. Hope you are both doing well. Love you. She did not call back. I tried sending cards. Birthday cards. Anniversary cards. Just because cards. I would write little notes inside. Thinking of you. Missing you. Love, Mom. No response. I tried showing up. With casseroles. With cookies. With excuses. I was in the neighborhood. I had extra food. I just wanted to see you. Michelle would open the door. She would stand in the doorway. She would not invite me in. She would take the casserole. She would say, thank you, Helen. Then she would close the door. I would stand on the porch, holding my empty hands, staring at the closed door. Then I would walk back to my car. Drive home. To my empty house. To my blue door. To my silence. The conversation happened on a Sunday. I was invited to dinner. I should have said no. I should have stayed home. But I wanted to see my grandchildren. I wanted to see my son. I wanted to be part of the family. I arrived at 5 o'clock. I brought a pie. Apple. My mother's recipe. Michelle opened the door. She smiled. That tight smile. She said, oh, Helen. You brought a pie. How sweet. I walked inside. The house was full of people. Her mother. Her father. Her sister. Her brother. Her cousins. David was in the kitchen. He was helping with the food. He did not look up. I stood in the living room, holding my pie. No one offered to take it. No one offered me a seat. No one offered me a drink. Dinner was served at 6 o'clock. The table was beautiful. White tablecloth, crystal glasses, silver candles. Michelle had spent days preparing. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. I sat at the end of the table. Not the head. The end. The chair that wobbles. The one no one wants. Michelle sat at the head. David sat at the other end. Her family sat on the sides. We ate. The food was good. The conversation was polite. I tried to join in. I asked about Michelle's work. About her mother's garden. About her father's retirement. Short answers. Polite smiles. Then silence. After dinner, Michelle asked me to stay behind. She said she wanted to talk. In private. David was there too. He was standing by the window, looking out, not at me. Michelle said, "Helen, we need to discuss your living situation." My living situation. I was living in my own house. The house I had paid for. The house I had cleaned. The house I had filled with love and memories. But she called it my living situation. Like I was a problem. Like I was a case file. I said, "What about my living situation, Michelle?" She said, "You cannot stay there anymore. It is not safe. It is not practical. You need to be somewhere with more support. A place where people can take care of you." I said, "I do not need to be taken care of. I am fine. I have been fine for 10 years. She sighed. A long sigh. The kind that says, "I am tired of dealing with you." She said, "You are not fine, Helen. You are getting older. You forget things. You leave the stove on. You miss appointments. You are a danger to yourself." I said, "I have never left the stove on. I have never missed an appointment. I do not know what you are talking about." She looked at my son. He was still looking out the window. She said, "David, tell her." My son turned around. He looked at me. His eyes were sad. He said, "Mom, we are worried about you. We think it is time." Time. Time for what? Time to leave my home? Time to give up my independence? Time to be put away? I said, "Where am I supposed to go?" Michelle said, "There is a nice assisted living facility across town. We have already looked into it. It is affordable. It is safe. You will have your own room. 3 meals a day. Activities. Friends. Assisted living." She wanted to put me in assisted living. In my own city. In my own neighborhood. While she lived in my son's house. While she raised my grandchildren. While she lived the life I had dreamed of. I said, "I am not going to assisted living, Michelle." She said, "Then pack your bags. You cannot stay in that house. It is not safe. We have made our decision. We have made our decision. Not me. We. Her and my son. The son I raised. The son I loved. The son who was looking at the floor again." I looked at him. I said, "David, is this what you want?" He did not answer. He just stood there, silent, small, ashamed. Michelle said, "It is what is best for everyone. Including you. You just cannot see it right now." I stood up. I said, "I am not going to assisted living. And I am not packing my bags." She said, "Then pack your bags for somewhere else. Because you are not staying in that house. We have decided. We have decided." She said it again, like I had no say. Like my 40 years in that house meant nothing. Like I was a child. Like I was a burden. I looked at my son. He was still looking at the floor. I said, "David, look at me." He looked up. His eyes were red. He had been crying. He said, "Mom, I am sorry. I am so sorry. But she is right. We cannot take care of you. You need more help than we can give." I said, "I do not need your help, David. I need your love. I need your respect. I need you to stand up for me. Just once." He looked back at the floor. He did not say anything. I walked to the door. I put on my coat. I said, "I am going home. To my house. The house I have lived in for 40 years. The house I will die in." I walked out. Into the dark. Into the cold. Into the silence. I drove home in the dark. The roads were empty. The streetlights were blurry. I was not crying, but my eyes were wet. I thought about the conversation. About Michelle's words. About her, "Pack your bags." About David's silence. About the way he looked at the floor. About the way he chose her. Again, I thought about all the small cuts. The phone calls that were not returned. The invitations that did not come. The holidays I spent alone. The grandchildren I barely knew. The son who had become a stranger. I thought about George. He would have known what to do. He would have talked to David. Man to man, father to son. He would have said, "Son, you are making a mistake. Do not let her push your mother away. Do not let her make her pack her bags." But George was gone, and I was alone, and my son had chosen silence. Again, when I got home, I sat in my rocking chair. I looked at the phone. I thought about calling my sister. I thought about calling my friend. I thought about calling someone who would understand. But I did not. I just sat there, in the dark, in the silence, in the betrayal. I looked around my living room. The furniture was old. The curtains were faded. The walls needed paint. But it was mine. It was home. And no one was going to make me pack my bags. That night, I made a decision. I was not going to pack my bags. I was not going to sell my house. I was not going to assisted living. I was staying, right here, in my home, where I belonged. The next morning, Michelle called. I let it ring. She left a message. "Helen, we need to talk. Please call me back." I did not call back. David called. I let it ring. He left a message. "Mom, please pick up. We need to figure this out." I did not call back. They came to the house. I did not answer the door. They knocked. They rang the bell. They called my name. I sat in my rocking chair. I did not move. They left. They came back the next day. I still did not answer. They sent letters. I threw them away. They sent emails. I deleted them. I was not going to engage. I was not going to argue. I was not going to pack my bags. I was staying. A month passed. 2 months. 3 months. The calls became less frequent. The visits stopped. The letters stopped coming. I thought they had given up. I thought I had won. I thought I could finally live in peace. But I was wrong. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. I was in the garden, pulling weeds. My hands were in the dirt. The sun was warm on my back. The mailman came. He put the mail in the box. I walked to the box. I opened it. There was a letter. Yellow envelope. Official looking. The return address was a law firm. My hands started shaking. I opened the letter. I read it. My knees went weak. I sat down on the grass. Right there, in the garden, in the dirt. The letter was from a lawyer. Michelle and David were trying to get guardianship over me. They were claiming that I was not capable of taking care of myself. That I was a danger to myself. That I needed to be placed in assisted living against my will. Against my will. They wanted to take my home. They wanted to take my freedom. They wanted to take my life. I read the letter 3 times. Then I stood up. I brushed the dirt off my pants. I walked inside. I sat in my rocking chair. I looked at George's photo. I said, "They are trying to take our home, George. They are trying to make me pack my bags." George did not answer. He never does. But I felt him. I felt his hand on my shoulder. I felt his love. And I knew that no matter what happened next, I was not alone. Not really. I called a lawyer. A real lawyer. One who specialized in elder law. She came to my house. She listened to my story. She looked at the letter. She said, "They do not have a case, Helen. You are perfectly capable of taking care of yourself. We will fight this. We will fight this." Those words gave me hope. The court date was set for 6 months later. 6 months of waiting. 6 months of anxiety. 6 months of wondering if I would lose my home. My lawyer was confident. She said, "Helen, you are healthy. You are capable. You have been taking care of yourself for 10 years. They have no evidence that you cannot continue." But I was still scared. Scared of losing my home. Scared of losing my freedom. Scared of being put away. I started documenting everything. Every meal I cooked. Every appointment I kept. Every bill I paid. I kept a journal. I wrote down everything I did. To prove that I was capable. To prove that I did not need to be taken care of. I also started reaching out to my neighbors. My friends. My church community. They wrote letters of support. They testified that I was active. That I was healthy. That I was independent. The day of the court hearing arrived. I wore my best dress. Blue. The color of peace. The color of my front door. I walked into the courtroom. My son and daughter-in-law were already there. They did not look at me. I did not look at them. The judge called the case. My lawyer presented my evidence. The letters. The journal. The testimony of my friends. Michelle's lawyer presented their evidence. Which was nothing. Just their word. Just their opinion. The judge looked at Michelle. He said, "What evidence do you have that Mrs. Davis cannot take care of herself?" Michelle stammered. She said, "She leaves the stove on. She misses appointments. She is forgetful. The judge said, "Do you have any proof of this? Any witnesses? Any documentation?" Michelle was silent. The judge looked at David. He said, "Mr. Davis, do you have anything to add?" David looked at the floor. He said, "No, Your Honor." The judge looked at me. He said, "Mrs. Davis, it seems to me that you are perfectly capable of taking care of yourself. This case is dismissed." I started crying. Tears of relief. Tears of joy. Tears of victory. After the court case, things were different. The calls stopped. The visits stopped. The letters stopped. Michelle and David did not contact me again. They did not apologize. They did not explain. They just disappeared. I was sad. Of course I was sad. My son had chosen his wife over me. He had tried to take my home. He had tried to take my freedom. And when he lost, he could not face me. I thought about reaching out. I thought about calling him. I thought about writing a letter. But I did not. I needed time. Time to heal. Time to forgive. Time to figure out who I was without him. I stayed in my house. I tended my garden. I sat on my porch swing. I talked to George every night. I told him about the court case. About the victory. About the silence. I think he was proud of me. Not because I won, but because I fought. Because I did not pack my bags. Because I stood up for myself. I also started volunteering. At the local library. At the food bank. At my church. I needed to get out of the house. I needed to be around people. I needed to feel useful. I made new friends. People who did not know about my son. People who did not know about the court case. People who just liked me for me. I started to heal. Slowly. One day at a time. 2 years passed. I did not hear from David. Not once. Not on my birthday. Not on Christmas. Not on the anniversary of George's death. Nothing. I stopped hoping. I stopped waiting. I stopped expecting the phone to ring. Then one day, it did. It was a Tuesday. I was in the garden. Pulling weeds. My hands were in the dirt. The sun was warm on my back. The phone rang. I did not recognize the number. I almost did not answer. But something told me to pick up. It was David. His voice was shaking. He said, "Mom, I need to see you." My heart stopped. I said, "What is wrong, sweetheart?" He said, "I cannot explain over the phone. Can I come over?" I said, "You know where I live." I never left. An hour later, he was at my door. He looked terrible. He had lost weight. His eyes were red. He had been crying. He looked older than his years. He said, "Mom, can we talk?" I said, "Of course, sweetheart." We sat on the porch swing. The same swing where he had held his first girlfriend's hand. The same swing where he had sat with Hi. He said, "Michelle left me, Mom. She took the kids. She took the house. She took everything. I have nothing. I have no one." I said, "You have me, David. You have always had me. I never left. I was just waiting for you to come home." He started crying. He said, "I am sorry, Mom. I am so sorry for everything. For trying to take your home. For trying to make you pack your bags. For believing her lies. For choosing her over you. I was weak. I was scared. I was wrong." I said, "I forgive you, David. I forgave you a long time ago. I was just waiting for you to come home." He said, "I am home, Mom. I am home." David moved back into my house. Not permanently. Just for a while. Just until he figured things out. He slept in his old room. The one with the posters still on the wall. The one with the high school trophies on the shelf. I cooked for him. Every day. Pot roast. Meatloaf. Chicken soup. The foods he loved as a boy. The foods that made him feel safe. He ate everything. 2 servings. 3 servings. He was hungry. Not just for food. For home. We fell back into our old rhythm. Sunday afternoons. Cooking together. Watching old movies. Talking about nothing and everything. He told me about Michelle. About the lies. About the manipulation. About the control. About how he finally realized that she did not love him. She loved controlling him. I said, "I knew, David. I have always known. But I could not tell you. You would not have believed me. You had to see it for yourself." He said, "I see it now, Mom. I see everything. And I am so sorry for the years I lost. For the pain I caused. For trying to take your home." I said, "You did not take my home, David. I am still here. In my house. In my home. I did not pack my bags." He smiled. A real smile. The first real smile I had seen on his face in years. He said, "I am glad you did not pack your bags, Mom. I am glad you fought. I am glad you won. I said, I did not win, David. I just did not lose. And neither did you. We are both still here. Still standing. Still together. So here I am. 68 years old. Living in my home. The home where I raised my son. The home where I buried my husband. The home where I fought to stay. My daughter-in-law said, pack your bags. But I did not. I stayed. I fought. I won. My son is here. He is in the kitchen. He is making dinner. He is humming. He is happy. My grandchildren are coming for the summer. They will sleep in their father's old room. They will put their drawings on my refrigerator. Right in the middle, where everyone can see them. Michelle is gone. The court case is over. The threat is gone. The fear is gone. I have learned something in this house. Something I want to share with you. Especially if you are a mother. A grandmother. A woman who has been told to pack her bags. A woman who has been told to leave her home. A woman who is fighting to stay. Here it is. Do not pack your bags. Do not leave. Do not give up. This is your home. Your place. Your life. No one can take that from you. Not a daughter-in-law. Not a son. Not a court. No one. Fight. Stay. Win. Because you belong here. In your home. In your chair. In your place. My daughter-in-law said, pack your bags. But I did not. I am still here. In my home. In my chair. In my place. And I am not leaving. That is my story. Thank you for listening. Still talk to George. Every night. Before I go to sleep. I look at his photo. I tell him about my day. I tell him about David. About the grandchildren. About the court case. About the victory. About the words, pack your bags, that did not win. I think he can hear me. I think he is listening. I think he is proud of me. Not because I did everything right. I did not. But because I did not pack my bags. Because I stayed. Because I fought. Because I won. That is all any of us can do. Stay. Fight. Win. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. I am Helen. I am 68 years old. My daughter-in-law said, pack yo.